prihatama. It's actually perfect. You know you're Korean when your kimchi container is at least this big, and I actually have 2 containers this size. So I'm making a new batch of kimchi, and I'm going to show you guys how I do it because people are always asking about kosher kimchi, which actually is pretty easy. If you just go online and search for vegan kimchi, that's gonna be kosher. A lot of Korean kimchis have either some kind of fish sauce or sometimes shellfish, which are obviously treif. So to make a kosher kimchi, you just omit that ingredient and it comes out just as delicious. I like it actually better than non-kosher kimchi because I don't like that fishy taste. So this is actually a kimchi that I made with kolrabi. I don't think I ever ate kolrabi until I came to Israel. It really just tastes like radish, and so it's a perfect swap for gochugaru, which is a Korean kimchi that's made with daikon radish, like Korean radish. Today I'm going to show you more of a classic take on a kimchi, which is made with cabbage. Everything's very seasonal in Israel, which is very nice, but at the same time it means that you can't really find napa cabbage, which is what Korean kimchi is typically made out of. So you can only find it seasonally, but I don't think you can find it so easily throughout the year. I haven't found it. So let me know if you know a place that sells it year-round that I can get it. I'm in Yerushalayim, but otherwise you can just use regular white cabbage. So I've just started by cutting up a bunch of cabbage. And I'm sorry, I'm not giving measurements. I'm just showing you guys a general technique so that you can see how easy it is to make kosher kimchi. And then you can find vegan kimchi recipes online and make it yourself. So let's get started. So this was like 1.5, kind of like 2 small heads of white cabbage, 1.5. 101 of kimchi making, you always need a pretty big bowl. So I just kind of cut it up into these chunk sizes. Some pieces might get smaller like this, but I like to keep a few pieces that are a little more retained like this because that way they're crunchier when you're eating them. But yeah, you just kind of chop it up like that. And now I'm going to take this very coarse salt. This is actually Israeli salt, and you just want to find any kind of coarse salt like this. And I'm just going to sprinkle it all over the bowl, toss it around, and let it sit for a little bit. Just let that sit. Let's actually do a little bonus here. I'm gonna make oi kimchi, which is cucumber kimchi, just to show you guys that the technique is universal, it's the same. This is also how I made the kolrabi kimchi, so it's literally the same process and you can just stick in any kind of vegetable that you want. So these are just gonna cut off the ends, cut it in half, and then cut this into, you can either do quarters, I think I might keep these as halves. So I have this much in here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to salt it with my coarse salt. And just shake it up. Okay, I'm going to let both of these rest, and every now and then, maybe in like half an hour or so, I'm just going to shake it up again to make sure that the salt is getting mixed around. So I just transferred the rest of that kolrabi kimchi to make space for the container. So I wanted to show you, this is what the kolrabi kimchi looks like. So this is the last of the kimchi that I have until these new batches will actually be fermented enough to enjoy. Now, because making kimchi is a bit laborious, I tend to do it in stages, and I actually prepped this, I think even a couple days ago where I started working on this. So I have all of my scallions cut up. That's a lot. I don't know if I'm actually going to use them all, but sometimes the more the merrier. So basically I cleaned and cut up scallions or spring onions, and I cut them into roughly 2-inch size pieces. And for the white parts, where the white parts are a little bit thick, what I do is I tend to cut them down the middle like this so that they're a little bit thinner, but you can just do it however you want. But the way you even cut the ingredients does matter for a traditional kimchi, so you don't want to cut them diagonally, you don't want to cut them small, you want to cut them into lengthy pieces like this. And then I peeled a whole bunch of garlic. I was able to find some nice organic garlic, so I got that. And I also have some ginger, but I need to cut up a little more ginger, which I got today. It's a funny looking ginger. They didn't have like the freshest ginger, and this one actually has a sprout. So I'm gonna try to save the sprout and see if it grows, but I'm going to peel this guy up, and then I'm gonna crush up all the garlic as well as the ginger. And personally, I love ginger, so I use roughly half and half, like equal portions of garlic and ginger, but typically you'll have a little more garlic than ginger, but there's really no exact science, there's no exact recipe. It's really to taste, and it's more just about the general method. I'm gonna be excited if this grows. I'm gonna put some water in that. So I cut them up into thin matchsticks, julienne like this, and then I go this way to mince them. Next, I'm going to take out the garlic and we'll crush up the garlic. So that's it. It's basically half and half. So before I take a break, I'll just show you. The cucumbers are kind of glistening because the water's coming out of them now. So I'm just going to give it another shake. Same with this one. And let it sit more. Okay, so it's been a couple hours and everything is nice and soft. And at this point, if you salted it properly, it would, like, if you actually eat these, which I tried one of each, it will be way too salty to eat on its own, which is how salty you want it to be because you want it to be nice and fermented. So there was a lot of water that came out of both the cucumbers and the cabbage, and I just dumped the water. And actually I noticed just from my experience that the cabbage was still like just a little more salty than extra salty. So I rinsed it just a little bit and also got the extra water out of there. So that's the part where it does take a little bit of practice to get a sense of how salty you want it. So recipes can be helpful as you start off, but eventually you'll get a sense of it. So now that I got rid of all my extra salt water, we get to move on to the fun part, my favorite part, which is to mix all the ingredients together. And you'll see how simple and basic the ingredients are. First, I want to show you the Korean chili flakes that go into it. So one thing to note, if you are using pure herbs, pure spices, you don't need a hechsher. So this is pretty universal. If you're really machmir about it, I mean, you can check with the rabbi and all that, but it is kosher without hechsher, as long as it's pure spice. So I'm using pure Korean chili flakes. I have a few different brands, so I can just show you what different ones look like. But if you don't have access to this, you can probably use regular chili flakes. I've never actually tried it, but you're really looking for the red color and the kick. So you can try to use just something like this, which pretty much you can find in any grocery store. I got this one actually at Osher Ad. So if you want to try that, you can go for it. You actually don't need to make it spicy. A lot of people think that kimchi has to be spicy and red, but we actually have various kinds of kimchi, and what we call pek kimchi or white kimchi is the same exact thing that I'm making, except hold the spice. So if you want to make just a white pickled cabbage, you can just do it without any kind of spice. So this is the one I'm using, and this actually just shows you what the chili pepper looks like. I've seen peppers like that in Israel, so I don't know where you can actually get the dried version of it. I see these fresh, like pretty much at all the stores. So maybe you can actually find the same thing, Israeli dried, which would be nice. I should probably find that at some point. Let me know if you know where they sell that. So this is just pure chili pepper. I like it not only because it's the right type of chili pepper for Korean kimchi, but it also makes me feel nice to be eating something from Korea. So I like to use this kind. These are the same exact thing, just different brands. So again, this is what the chili pepper actually looks like. So that's what we're gonna use. And let me bring you to the bowls and we'll just start mixing. Okay, so I'm just gonna start with all these green onions. So I'm just gonna distribute them between the two. And it's really just whatever ratio you want. I like to put a lot. Okay, so you can see how much you put in there. Now we have this garlic and ginger, and I'm just going to distribute a good amount. The cucumbers will need a lot less. Now, if you have a food processor, this would be even better, but I actually like the little bits of ginger. Okay, so I'm actually saving this much. I have too much, so I'll just save this for something else. Next, I'm using this tamari. You can use soy sauce, and I'm just using a little bit for the umami. And I don't like to use too much because I don't want the kimchi to turn kind of brown, so I'm just putting a little dash. And then I'm using some cane sugar. And I just sprinkle a light layer on top of both. And this isn't gonna make it sweet. The point is just to put enough so that you get a fermentation process going. And by the time you're actually eating the kimchi, all the sugar will have been eaten up and you won't actually taste any sweetness. And finally, we have the red pepper powder, the gochugaru. Okay, so that's basically it. I'm just gonna mix this up and it already smells like kimchi. It smells really good. That looks really good. And I'll taste one. And that looks really good. So now I'll just put it into a big airtight container like this. So that's how it looks. And I'm just gonna put a plastic wrap over this and then the container top, and we'll put it in the fridge. So now we add the final ingredient of kimchi, which is thyme. We're gonna wait like 2 to 3 weeks for the kimchi to be fermented enough so that all that sugar will be fermented and eaten up, so it won't taste sweet at all. It'll just have like a nice tangy kick, and the salt will also continue to soften the crunchiness a little bit, so it's a little more tender, but it'll still be crunchy. And the cucumber kimchi will be done much sooner than the cabbage kimchi, so maybe I can eat that in like a week to a week and a half. And then the cabbage kimchi will be a little bit longer for it to be just really nice, and that one also lasts longer, so I'll probably be able to eat that one like on Rosh Hashanah. It's been less than a week. It's actually Thursday, so it's been like more or less 5 days, and I think we might be ready to have the oi kimchi. Looks so good. Let's see, they've gotten just like a little bit softer. They're still crunchy. It's actually perfect. So that's our final kimchi. So believe it or not, but it's been actually a month. I started this video on September 15th and it's October 14th, and I have not even opened this. So I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like. It should be done, but it's kind of just a question of how ripe and how fermented it's gonna be. But I'm excited to have this. I can smell it already. So you can see how much liquid has come out of the kimchi, and this is from the salt, and all of that kimchi juice is gonna be really tasty as well. So the top actually doesn't look super fermented, which is surprising. Yummy. So let's transfer some. So I transferred it into a smaller bowl and it tasted after 1 month, and let's see how it is. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hadama. It's actually perfect. I thought it wasn't fermented enough based on how it looked, but it's actually really perfect. Probably in like a week or two, it'll be at its prime. And this huge batch that I made is gonna last me maybe about a month or so. So every month or two, I'll make a new batch and just kind of have another one going in the background. So that's my kimchi, guys. That's kosher, Korean, authentic kimchi. And I have to say, this tastes extra delicious to eat. Homemade kimchi in Israel with Israeli cabbage, like that's kind of an awesome extra bonus. It tastes extra special. So I hope you guys are encouraged by how simple it is. You saw that I used the same exact ingredients, same exact process, just a little bit of a different fermentation timeline between the cucumber kimchi and the cabbage kimchi. So have fun, try out different things to basically turn into kimchi. You can do this with really any vegetable, any kind of hard, crunchy vegetable, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So I'm glad I finally got to show you guys because so many people ask me about kosher kimchi, and here it is. I hope you try it. B'tevon.